On this final episode of Rage Against the Cage, I get out of the cage. Spoiler alert, I don't get eaten. I'm calling these videos Rage Against the Cage, and you may think that the rage is the shark, and the cage is what's protecting us from its fury. Nah, you couldn't be more wrong. The rage is mine, against this cage that is keeping me from getting out and really swimming with the great white. You know, most of the divers on this ship would get out of the cage in a heartbeat. I'm one of them. And today I'm gonna do it. As a team, we logged well over 200 dives during our 3 days on Guadalupe Island. There wasn't a single close call with an animal. But when you find yourself playing chicken with a shark, as Ashley did, it did get your senses tingling.
For a second, I thought the shark was gonna penetrate through the cage, and it kind of caught me off guard because the other sharks hadn't come that close while making eye contact.
I can't help but wonder if Ashley was caught off guard in part because of a little video shtick she and her husband Lee sent to their family and friends back home.
So Ash, you sure you really want to do this? It's gonna be like this. Let me out! Let me out! Let me out! You up for that?
I'm pretty sure. I've heard about every season, at least one great white penetrates the cage and gets in with the diver.
This is not that trip. Like I said, no close calls with the animals. Of course, cage diving with these sharks swimming around you is one thing. It's something altogether different to find yourself diving with a great white when you thought you were going down on a shipwreck.
We were in North Carolina. We were on a wreck called the Carib Sea.
And what's exciting about the Carib Sea is that it has a lot of sand tiger sharks, and they have very, very sharp teeth, and they smile as they swim by.
The first thing I noticed was there were no feeder fish on the wreck. Second thing I noticed was there were no sand tigers on the wreck.
And we swam around about a wreck, and here comes a great white with her pup.
And she was that big.
Come to find out, they come down to give birth because the water's warmer.
But it was a shock, you know, you come around and you see a fish coming, and you go, holy, that's a great white.
At me was coming this little tiny shark, no more than 2.5 to 3 feet. But he had his mouth wide open, and it was about an 8-inch bite radius.
If she thought maybe you're going after her pup or something, I imagine could be all hell to pay.
As soon as she saw the divers, it looked like it was time for her to move away, and I didn't have a problem with that at all.
I can't say it was scary. I just want to say it was interesting.
Now that's a great white shark encounter. As I seek permission to attempt a similar experience by getting outside of the cage, I ask the dive masters both what it's like and if they think I'll be allowed to leave the enclosure.
Well, actually, to tell you the truth, I prefer to hang out where guests are.
It's a bit more thrilling. Sometimes the sharks come a little bit more close. You have to be really paying a lot of attention up there.
It's more adrenaline, let's say, but yeah, it will be more exciting.
If a shark comes a little bit too close, you have to stand your ground and try not to have the shark bumping into the cage.
Left the cage? You mean swim outside? No way.
Never, we're not allowed.
Honestly, I didn't expect to get permission, but I did. And thus, it's time to leave the cage. As I do, I'm reminded of a fellow diver's explanation on why the dive masters have such a great responsibility. She said that you don't want to be certain of 3 sharks in the water when there are actually 4. The reason? There is evidence that these animals work together. I saw this for myself when 2 sharks, whom I nicknamed the brothers, appeared to be hunting in cahoots with one another. One would distract the crew by toying with the bait on the starboard side of the ship, only for the other to easily grab the bait on the port side by sneak attack from the depths. For that reason, my head was constantly swiveling around from left to right, up and down, over and over again. I wouldn't say I felt fear, but I could feel a heightened amount of adrenaline pumping through me. I felt more vulnerable and more alive. I also don't remember most of that 30-minute dive. It's just a blur. I do have one clear memory. I made eye contact with a shark swimming 3 to 4 meters away from me. In that moment, I could feel my heart beating and my mouth forming a smile. I wondered what it thought of this strange bubble maker it was looking at. I wondered if curiosity would cause him to come in closer, and if so, would I hold my ground or retreat? Then I wondered if he was distracting me for his brother. My head turned left, right, up, and down. Nothing. When I looked back in his direction, he was gone. As the dive came to an end, I was confident that there were 4 sharks swimming around me while I was outside of the cage. On the boat, I learned that the divers inside the cages, well, they counted 5.
All right, I admit it. It's clickbait to say that I got out of the cage when the truth is that I only got out of the cage to my chest. But we've been baiting these animals all week long. I figured it was only fair to bait you guys a little bit. And truthfully, would you have done it?
Since cage diving with great white sharks, I've been pondering this question. If I were to come across one during an open water dive, as my friends did earlier in this video, would I see my life flash before me as if death were imminent? Or would I just enjoy it, as I do every other fish in the sea? I believe that the great white would hold my attention the entire time I was in the water with it, but I wouldn't have a fight or flight instinct come up from within me. But then again, who knows? I don't think you can actually know how you'll handle any situation until you are truly in it. I do know this. Because of this trip, I am more confident that I would come out of the water with a great fish tail rather than coming out of the tail end of a great fish. Thanks for watching.